I got a question for you. Do you have a love-hate relationship with your car? Because I do. Welcome back to Nordic Nomad, where we discuss why I love and hate my 2008 Ford Focus. So let me throw you a little bit of background before we go ahead and jump into why this is the best car for me right now and the worst car. First of all, I want to bring up the point that this is my previous car, as well as why that was so much of a cooler car. The 2012 Hyundai Genesis Coupe Track Pack, which was the 3.8 liter, so it wasn't turboed, but it still had enough power to it that I could get up and go without any real problem. Which leads me into the first reason why I don't like this car, is because it doesn't have that. There's not enough power, in my opinion, for this car to be considered anywhere remotely quick, and it's not meant to be a quick car. I'm not trying to make it a quick car, and I'm not saying that it should be a quick car, but the power that it has is definitely lackluster compared to what I was used to my previous car. So yeah, and that is both a blessing and a curse in disguise, because my insurance went down significantly when I bought this car, as well as the fact that I own this car and I didn't own the Genesis. It was actually owned by the bank still, so it wasn't even my car. The biggest struggle for me with buying this car was it wasn't my previous car. Knowing that I just totaled the car that I had spent way more money on and way more time on than I probably should was really detrimental to me, and having to deal with that was a big problem for me. So when I finally came about and got this car, I had to basically relearn how to drive, because it was a manual and this is an automatic, so it was a weird transition to put your foot down where the clutch would go and there's no clutch. So that was the first struggle, and that was the first thing that I really hated about this car, was it was an automatic. Now when you compare a 2012 Genesis to a 2008 Ford Focus, there's a pretty big gap, but after driving this car for a couple of months and really getting to know this car, it excels at what it does, and it excels at it very well, and so did the Genesis. Is the fact that it is a four-door sedan that is a compact. They're not built like a regular car. They're very much an economy car, so it acts like an economy car, and it drives like an economy car, and it is an economy car, which is, again, where it excels at, being the best car for the gas mileage you can. Number 3, the third thing that I don't like about this car is the fact that it is front-wheel drive and not all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. And for those of you who don't know, front-wheel drive means the power gets put into the front wheels and not the rear wheels. Now, why is that important, you might ask? That is important for someone who likes to do stuff like drifting and sliding around on a track, of course. I would never do it on the road, of course not. Now, that is only important if you care about that kind of thing for the application that you're using it. And every application related to the road, in my opinion, front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive is supreme over rear-wheel drive. But when you're me and you like to do hoonigan stuff, front-wheel drive is not ideal for what you want to do. And because of having front-wheel drive, it's a little bit more difficult to do said hoonigan things, especially with the underpowered. So we're underpowered, we're front-wheel drive, it's a Focus. So let's talk about the interior a little bit. It's something that I don't particularly enjoy, but I'm not exactly mad about. So I'm 5'7". I'm not a tall guy, and I'm not really a big guy, but I just struggle to get in and out of this seat when I'm working, right? Because I'm constantly in and out all the time. This size comparison to what I was used to is something that I'm very much not happy with. So there's not much I can do in returns of it because it's not really like something that's changeable. But it is something that I'm not exactly happy with about the car. So I like the Focus lineup, I do, but my least favorite Focus is this guy right here, which is the Mark II, is the shape of the vehicle overall. And do you see that shape behind me? Do you see that aesthetic behind me, right? It's got a weird like look to it, and if you lowered it, it would look cool, right? With the blacked out windows and the lowered look, and if I got rid of the chrome and whatnot, it would look good, don't get me wrong, but it's still a Mark II. And as a result, I have this weird love-hate relationship with it because of it. Let's jump into the things I do like about this car. And it gets really good gas mileage for the year that it was made. On the highway, I can get as high as like 35 miles to the gallon, which is really, 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 really good comparatively to what I had before at like 18 miles to the gallon on the highway. So it is super good on gas mileage compared to the Genesis. Less power, less fuel. So it's an interesting trade-off in my opinion. Because it's slow and because it's good on gas mileage, well, not so much the gas mileage, but just being slow in general, I don't get into trouble with this car. So I love that. I love the fact that this car is slow enough that I can't get into trouble, but is quick enough that it can handle the highway mediocrely. I would say it's okay on the highway. It's not my favorite car that I've been on the highway, but it's fantastic for just scooting around town. Favorite thing that I love about this car is its reliability, right? So I was once told by a friend of mine that when you're building a car, you get to pick two of the three, and that three is you could have fast, reliable, or cheap, right? You pick two and you don't get the third. So if you want fast and reliable, it's not cheap. But if you only want cheap and reliable, it's not fast. And that's what this is cheap and reliable, but it's not fast. Hands down, it's an American domestic car with a European vibe. It's meant to be efficient, and that's what it is. It's an efficient little car that does what it does very well, and that's it. And that's what it does. Actually, it's a really good car in my opinion, and it's been really, really reliable for me the entire time that I've had it. I mean, I'm not exactly the nicest that I possibly can to every vehicle that I have, but man, I beat the out of this car and it doesn't give up. It doesn't give up. All I've done since I bought this car at like 148,000 miles was just done the oil change and basic maintenance and have fixed anything that I have broken. But if I didn't break it, it didn't break. So listen, I got remote start. That's another thing I love about this car. Yeah. Overall, the 2008 Ford Focus Mark II is the best and the worst car for a car guy. If you're looking for a car that just gets you to point A to point B, this is the car for you, because you can get these for cheap. But man, as a daily reliable car, I can't get rid of this car. I would feel bad if I sold this car. I honestly would feel bad if I were to sell this car right now, simply because of how unbelievably reliable it has been for me. Without a doubt, one of the best cars I've ever owned. Well, that brings me to the end of this video about why I have a love-hate relationship with my car, and I want to say thanks for stopping by and watching this video, and